Good thing my head wasn't down there. No, this is not a rerun. The engine is coming apart. I guess I'm going to have to finally take the head, the oil pan, and the front cover off and replace it with this new front cover that came in from the States that has a separate water pump. I don't know, I might be able to resurrect the old one, but frankly, I'm through playing Russian roulette. This was very expensive, about $1,000 Canadian, and it's got 3 O-rings on it, but I'm going to use a little silicone on it anyway, just to make sure everything fits. It's also got a dipstick tube, which I'm going to have to pull out and block off because there's no dipstick with this dry sump. So you've seen the engine coming apart before. I'm just going to take it apart and do the work and have at her. Okay, that's the dismantling. I've had enough. I'm going to clean everything up tomorrow, and I'll put it back together, and hopefully this time I'll do it right. While the engine is out, it's an absolutely perfect time to check to see if this thing is going to fit. I did a rough test when the engine was in, and it appeared that even after all of the fussing and fitting that was done by the body shop, this lip bottomed out on the top of the valve cover. And so it stopped about here, and that means that these Zeus fasteners won't actually come into play to keep the thing attached. So it's rocking back and forth, and I guess these are the most important ones to attach. But it also means that I think I'm going to probably either have to lower the engine or grind inside this lip. I don't know how much room I have to play before I break through the top of the paint. I'm going to mark where the Zeus fasteners go while the engine's off anyway, and drill the holes and hope I can make everything work. These are actually the only panels where the Zeus fastener is attached directly. The bottom one is it's just the hole where the Zeus fastener comes up. It gets attached to the bottom of the frame. We'll see whether or not there's enough sticking out to catch the wire. I don't know if these wires are supposed to be on the front side of this bracket or the back side of this bracket. It locks kind of like that. Maybe we'll pop rivet one onto the front and see how it fits, and if it doesn't, I guess we'll take it off. Yes. Okay, so we have 2 little holes to drill on the other side to attach pop rivets or bolts or whatever to keep this thing from moving. Okay, for the second time in too short a period, this engine's going back together. Okay, one nice brand new gasket. Then we'll attach our brand new water pump plate. Once again, we'll put the oil slinger back on. Install the jack shaft. The new front cover has had this chain guide transferred over from the old pump. The chain tensioner has been transferred over from the old pump. This hose fitting that goes to the carburetor heater has been transferred over. And I've installed a new gasket, rubber seal for the front. I'm going to leave this in, and I'm just going to put a cap on it at some point, or maybe I'll find a dipstick and cut it off so that at least it doesn't spit oil all over the place. Okay, we'll stretch the chain. The keeper is pointed in the right direction. I have put a bead of silicone on all the mating surfaces here. Now I have to see if I can get this in position without too much time elapsing and without smooshing the silicone onto other various parts. A little bit of silicone needed at the top where it was leaking before. And suppose this whole thing is twisted and it's having difficulty mating with the block. Well, I'm going to loosen off a bunch of screws. That must have been it. Just needed a little adjustment. The water gallery in the block has been filled with water for at least the last 2 days, and it hasn't shown any sign of leaking, but then I can't pressurize it, so there's absolutely no way of knowing for sure if once I get the pan and the head back on that this thing will not leak water. But I guess it's as good as it's going to get without going through those last 2 steps. So I've got the pan to put on and the head to put on. Makes sense to do the pan first. I think I'm in. Okay, time for valve cover gasket. Another moment of truth. There's been a lot of them over the course of the restoration. Now that I've shaved inside the nose, is it going to fit? I don't know. One side down, other side down. Oh, it's tight as a drum on the valve cover. It's like the engine and the nose have now become one piece. I don't know what the heat is going to do to the nose. I may be able to get these to fasten, but it's going to be under severe stress if I do. Any little bump and the thing will probably crack. Once I finish installing the rear tail lights, I'll be able to actually button up the back of this car and put the gas filler in. So we'll just drill a few holes here and then we'll carve out the hole in the middle. Slip the ground over the top, put a washer on it, and a nut, and then we'll run it over to the other side here. Now this tail light is designed so that this bulb comes out in this area. This is the reflector. You don't want to have the reflector coming out that way. You want the bulb actually in that position. This pack of wires is about the right length to attach to the connectors that are a little further up. There's a bundle of red down here. This red will attach to that. There's a black that goes next to it. Then we have another red and a green. And we have to figure out which one of those goes to where. Well, this is a left turn, which is right, and this is a right turn, which is left. So I guess I have to flip the switch on the dash, and this is brake. It's hard to tell. The other one is going on because the first one is so bright, but then the bulb is burned out for the driving lights over on this side, so I have to get a new bulb for this fixture. Last step before I add the floor and the fuel filler is I bought a set of 4-point harnesses for this vehicle, and so the center two straps will attach inside over the seat back. We're going to have a great humongous washer on the top and a great humongous washer underneath. We have a couple of seat belt clips. All the times in the past that I've been doing the testing on getting this to install properly, I was actually rubbing it up against the inside of the fender, and it provided little gouges. So I'm going to try and get it in without that happening this time. Although it's much more difficult now that there's a fuel tank in place. Okay, and then we have to lift it up, add the hose. Now we'll slide the gasket and the fuel filler into the back panel at the same time. Okay, now we'll put the roll bar back in. The last piece of aluminum that needs to be polished is the hood. And I've blocked off the rest of the car with a large blanket to keep the splatter to a minimum, and also I don't want to polish the paint. It's going to be interesting to see how nice this looks. This isn't exactly the right type of weather stripping for the application. If it doesn't quite work out, I can always strip it off and go see if I can find a piece of rubber. Well, I guess we'll put some hood latches on the back, and that'll cinch it down, and then we have to figure out what we're going to do with the front. Ouch. Now with the latch in place and the hood all the way down to where we want it to lock, we will mark the other two hole positions. Ouch. I've loosened off the clip on the other side so that I can bring this one down for measurement. Okay, we'll latch this side down. And that side down. And that's pretty tight, almost tight enough that you wouldn't need a front hood clasp, but I know better. At highway speed, this thing can pick up. And in fact, it happened once when I took it out for a spring run and I didn't have the latches clipped, and the wind caught it, and it did a 1.5 gainer over the roof line and landed paint side down on the road behind me. Fortunately, no one came along and ran over it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we'll see about getting the fenders on. The nose has been removed, and I've added the front fender brackets and headlight brackets. I'm making sure that they're roughly the right position apart so that the nose will actually fit without scraping against these. I'm using a level based on the position of the level on the frame. I'm adjusting these brackets so that they're roughly aligned, and then we're going to tighten them down. I've got a grounding strap on this side here for part of the electrics that's being tightened down as well, and then we've got the fender sitting on the tires back here. We're going to see if we can mount that, get that in position. I was a little concerned about the hood latch and the combination of the fender, but the fender only goes up to the end of the hood. In the previous incarnation of this car, it was slid way too far forward, and it actually hit on the headlight once the headlight was in position. So it ended up marking the fender. So the fact that the fender is further back, by design, the headlight will fit much better. The nose is on, but it just occurred to me that I haven't got the headlights wired up. I haven't got the park lights wired up, and if I can't get the nose off after I've got the fenders on, then I can't get the headlights on. It wasn't meant to be this tough. So it's just that because of the bodywork mess up, it requires superhuman force to get these clips, these Zeus fasteners attached. So I guess I better put the headlights on and run the wires for the, this is getting to be exactly like the windshield wiper motor. You can't do one thing without the other, and you can't do the other without the first thing. So I'm going to have to work through it slowly, but I guess I'll put the headlights on, I'll get the wiring in place. Then we're going to have to see about, the park light goes through the fender and down and into here, and I can't put the fender on without the nose. I also have the hood latches, and they've got to go on at some point as well. Now that the car can see what I'm doing, let's see if we can actually get the nose back on. No. Can this one swing out anymore or not? This is not recommended procedure, but all the proper connectors have been soldered on, but once again, in my haste, I forgot to include the signal light. Okay, let's see if they work. Low beam, high beam, that's the parking light. Left signal light, right signal light. And it seems to be working even without the generator running, which is always good. I bought a right angle and a stubby screwdriver. Hopefully that will assist in getting these things mounted. No matter what I do, I need the force of a large screwdriver to get this thing latched. So I don't know, frankly, how I'm going to get the nose on once the fenders are in place. So I guess I might as well try to put the fenders on and hope I never have to take the nose off again. I figured that just to be safe, I better make sure that this hood is going to fit and that I don't have any problems with the front hood latches. So I've attached the two clips as far forward as I can. We'll clip it down with the back ones. They seem to be fitting okay. Now we have to figure out how much room we've got to attach these springs. Okay, with it like that, there's enough room to get the latch on and off. And that's through into something, I don't know what. What is that going into? Wouldn't you know it, it's right at this diagonal. We'll round off the edge of the piping at the back end. This was the hole on the other side that I hit the internal brace, but I've cleared it on this side, so I guess my little bit of fudging at the front has proven to be successful. And let's see if we can get this front one on. Then I have to drill up through these fender brackets very carefully with a smaller drill so that I don't burst out too much above it. Ooh, clean as a whistle. Then we'll mount some bolts. So I've decided to go back to the dome head, but I'm going to put these bigger washers on them, which I can shape to bevel with the contour of the fender. Okay, that's one completed fender, and I have one more on the other side. Then I'm waiting for tires and wheels. One thing that I haven't done as yet, do a little measuring and finally cut a hole for this gear shift. That's pretty close. It's going to be a very short gear shift. The carpet is done, the shifter is in. It's very short. I might at some point put an extension on it, but for now it seems to be reasonable height. Just put the badge back in and it will be done. There will be these 4-point harnesses going in, but they're just sort of laying in position right now. They have to go in before the seats go in. I've put a piece of carpeting also in the back on the trunk floor to keep things from rattling around. So we'll take the seats out for now. They need to be cleaned up a little bit anyway. Now they attach like that, but I'm going to put a little bit of a spacer behind them, the clip, and then this bigger washer up front. Lots of extra slop here. I won't really know for sure until I get the seats in. I've had to disconnect the back anchors, which I guess is good that I have these quick disconnects, because it would be impossible to get the back seat in place. And the very important seat, my seat. This is the original serial number plate. It has the engine number, which doesn't correspond to the engine that's in there anymore. The serial number is still active, but it looks like they scraped it on with a nail. So I've been able to find a brand new serial number plate. So I'm going to use these letter punches and number punches, and I'm going to remark this plate to correspond to the number on the old one. Now I'm going to keep this old one because it's still the original plate. It still validates the authenticity of the car. But I'm going to transcribe, move the numbers over. This will be the final touch to the frame. Done. I still have no wheels and tires. And as long as you own a British car, you're really never done. Now let's try firing it up. Oil pressure. There's that strange noise still. Let's see if it'll move. Okay, generator is out. I don't know why it was making the noise. The direction that it travels is nice and quiet, but it's obviously making noise, so it's off to the rebuild place. There's not much time left in this summer, and this is going to put me back at least 3 days. So it's done, and it turned out that the generator was fine after all. I just had to reposition it slightly forward, and it hasn't squealed since. Why it squealed now and it hasn't squealed for the last 30 years is beyond me. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this little restoration, bringing this car back to life. It's taken 1.5 years, and hopefully it will last for another 15 or 20 years without any major problems. Although it is still a British car, and it will still need a little bit of tender loving care. I think I hear a road calling me.